Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about something that quite literally affects every single guy listening, whether you've realized it or not, and that is your testosterone levels. Studies show that right now, men in their 20s and 30s are walking around with, no joke, testosterone levels lower than what guys in their 50s used to have just a few decades ago, which I find quite scary personally, because if you think of it, a 25-year-old guy today has the same or worse hormonal profile than his granddad did at 55. And researchers are saying that that drop is happening fast. Quote unquote, it's alarming that changes of this magnitude can be detected over such a relatively short period of time. So that begs the question, why is this happening? Why are testosterone levels falling so aggressively with every generation? Is this why more guys are out of shape now versus any time in history? Why guys feel tired all the time, lack motivation? Potentially, some would say almost sedated, because when your testosterone is low, it doesn't just reflect in your physique. It absolutely will. Yes, your ability to build muscle is hindered and your ability to drop body fat, but it affects everything: your energy, your sleep, your motivation, your sex drive, and your overall quality of life. Now, the first thing that's always gets brought up in this conversation, which does have some merit, is endocrine disrupting chemicals like plastics, pesticides, toxins in your skincare products, toothpaste, and everything we're exposed to in our modern environment. And yeah, you can look at the research. There's definitely some evidence that these things can mess with your hormonal balance, but most of that evidence comes from lab animals and petri dishes, not real world human data. So while there is cause for concern, for sure, there's no hard proof that everyday exposure to these chemicals is the main driver for this radical drop in testosterone. But that's not to say they're not a contributing factor, just not enough evidence to support its reason number one. Now, when we zoom out, the problem becomes pretty obvious. We are more sedentary than ever. We're more stressed than ever. We sleep like shit. We eat ultra processed foods. We live indoors. We're glued to screens. We lack sunlight. Our sleep wake cycle is all over the place. And every one of those things is not conducive to optimizing testosterone. In this episode, we're going to break down pretty much everything. Why your testosterone might be lower than it actually should be, what's actually causing it, and most importantly, what you can do today to turn it around and naturally maximize your testosterone. So, like I said, researchers are calling this drop alarming, but why are they actually falling so fast? First place people think of is the endocrine disruptors and microplastics, and that's not to say I don't completely ignore this. I filter my water for sure. I have a shower filter. I use stainless steel pans. Rarely use plastic in my kitchen. Definitely don't microwave anything in plastic or have a plastic cutting board. But what actually explains the drop? Because that's not really it. The answer is lifestyle. The research shows that obesity, poor sleep, nutrient deficiencies, high stress, and low physical activity can all dramatically lower testosterone. And when you account for these lifestyle factors, the generational decline in testosterone basically becomes negligible. If you control for body fat, sleep, and nutrient status, guys today aren't necessarily predetermined to have lower the testosterone than past generations. But it's because we are more sedentary than ever. We move less. Like I said, we sleep less, we eat more junk, we carry more body fat, we live in chronic stress and constant sympathetic tone our ancestors never had to deal with, and our biology isn't meant to be under constant stress like that. Like, picture the average modern male, because you're listening to this podcast, so it's easy to get caught up in a bubble, especially for me personally. But let's say you take a random guy off the street and ask them about their habits, maybe pry into their routine a little bit. It probably looks something along the lines of wake up to their alarm, immediately check their phone, straight to caffeine. They're super tired, they skip breakfast, maybe get a 300 calorie drink at Starbucks or Tim Hortons filled with who knows what ultra processed food for lunch, maybe a soda with it. They are in constant stress. Then they stay up till 2 a.m. every night, doom scrolling right before they sleep, not hitting the gym, barely cracking 5K steps a day, and repeat. So when you really look at that, it is no surprise we are seeing alarming drops in testosterone. So now, picking out some habits out of the modern dude's lifestyle, what are the major ones that have the most detriment to their hormonal profile? Number one is being overweight, carrying excess body fat, adipose tissue, especially the visceral fat that builds up around your organs, converts testosterone into estrogen through an enzyme called aromatase. The more fat you carry, the more testosterone you lose to this conversion, which is a pretty well established mechanism. The more fat you have equals the lower your testosterone. Number two is sedentary behavior. We're really not moving anymore. We sit all day at our desk, we drive everywhere, we kick up on the couch. And number three, arguably one of the biggest contributing factors, sleep deprivation. If you miss one night of sleep, your testosterone can drop by up to 15% the next day. Now that's one night. Chronic sleep deprivation is even worse, which is most people. Now, number four, chronic stress. When your body perceives a constant threat, whether that's from work, finances, relationships, it produces cortisol. And cortisol and testosterone, basically a yin yang, like a seesaw. One goes up chronically, the other goes down. Number five, nutrient deficiencies, which is why I'm completely against the whole IIFYM approach, a conversation for another day. But you can be eating enough calories and protein, but still be missing critical micronutrients like zinc, magnesium, boron, vitamin D, all of which are essential for testosterone production. Then number six, this one is far less common, but still does exist, overtraining and undereating, sorry. Something I've experienced myself. My first ever diet, I lost 60 pounds. I did crash my testosterone in the process. I believe the lowest it was when I got tested was like 0.7. Now, is this the majority? No, but this still exists. Some guys go too far in the other direction. They lift maybe 6-7 days a week, do tons of cardio, eat really low calories, 1,500 calories a day. They're chronically in a deficit, trying to get shredded. And what happens when your intake is too low for too long? Your body will downregulate testosterone as a survival mechanism, along with a bunch of other hormonal cascades that take place. Okay, now before you start optimizing anything and follow what I'm about to lay out, so you essentially become an outlier in our society, you need to know where you're at. And just going off symptoms like low energy or low libido doesn't always correlate to low testosterone. First off, blood work is the gold standard. I wouldn't waste your time with like any of these saliva or urine kits from Instagram. You see they're promoting on Instagram ads. Get a real blood test. And you want to measure your total testosterone. This tells you the amount of testosterone floating in your bloodstream. You want to measure your free testosterone. This is the active form. It's the testosterone that's unbound and actually is usable by your cells. So you can have a high total testosterone, but low free T, especially if your SHBG, your sex hormone binding globulin, is elevated. SHBG, this binds to testosterone and makes it almost inactive. So if your SHBG is high, your free T will be lower even if total T looks normal. Albumin, another protein that binds to testosterone, but it's more loosely bound and is useful for calculating bioavailable testosterone. You want to check your luteinizing hormone. This tells your testes to produce testosterone. So if your luteinizing hormone is also low, the problem may be in the brain. If LH is high and testosterone is still low, the problem may be in the testes. Now, estradiol, this is your main estrogen. If it's too high or too low, both can cause issues, especially if you're overweight. Then you could get a prolactin checked. If this is elevated, it can suppress testosterone and libido as well. And once you get those numbers, don't just look at the reference range. That is the worst thing you could do. Not the worst thing, but the reference range is based on the average guy. And we just went over the average guy's lifestyle. Reference ranges are based off an unhealthy population. So you want to be in the upper half of the range for total and free testosterone. And for most labs, that means your total testosterone is between 600 to 900 nanograms per deciliter, and your free testosterone is 15 to 25 nanograms per deciliter. Now, to make sure this is super important, you're getting accurate numbers. For some reason, some people don't tell you this. You want to test first thing in the morning, ideally between 7 and 10 a.m., fasted, and then retest 8 to 12 weeks later after making some changes, or all the ones we're going to go over. So with that said, you get your baseline done. Now let's optimize or maximize your testosterone naturally, starting with nutrition, because if your nutrition is full of holes, specifically micronutrient deficiencies, which are extremely common, you're not going to have optimal testosterone levels because your body needs certain raw materials to make testosterone, most notably magnesium, zinc, boron, vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, and cholesterol, because testosterone is literally synthesized from cholesterol. So let's take magnesium for starters. About 50% of the U.S. population is deficient, and this mineral plays a key role in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. One of them, regulating testosterone. So low levels in magnesium have been directly linked to lower testosterone in both sedentary and athletic men. So even if you live an active lifestyle and you're hitting the gym, you train hard, you actually lose more magnesium through sweat. So you even need more. Now with magnesium as well as zinc, which is involved in the conversion of cholesterol to testosterone, if you already have normal zinc status, taking more won't have an additive effect. Only if you're deficient and you then replete your zinc status, you will see an increase in testosterone. So that's something important to note. Don't just go blindly supplementing without assessing where you're at first. Then vitamin D is another one, which is actually not even a vitamin. It's a hormone. And a deficiency in vitamin D is one of the most common worldwide. And you could get your level assessed via blood work as well to see where you're at. Then we have boron, which has been shown to raise free testosterone via lowering SHBG. That's the protein that binds to your testosterone. Basically, you can think of it like locking it up. So boron helps free up more of what you already have. Then, of course, dietary cholesterol, which was demonized for decades. Some people still believe they should stay away from cholesterol, but low-fat, low-cholesterol diets are not conducive to optimal testosterone. I can tell you firsthand, like I said, my first diet where I lost 60 pounds, part of the reason my testosterone came back at zero point 0.7 was because I completely neglected fats, because fats were nowhere near as satiating, as filling as carbohydrates, and I followed an IIFYM approach. So all I would make is anabolic recipes. I had nutrient deficiencies for sure, was not meeting my micronutrient needs. On top of that, was barely consuming any fats needed for hormone production. So you need healthy saturated fats and cholesterol in order for your body to have adequate hormone production. And then another worth mentioning is omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. So modern diets, way too heavy in omega-6 fats we get from seed oils, processed foods, versus omega-3 fatty acids from fatty fish like salmon or sardines, or supplementing with a high quality fish oil. So basically this means you can be hitting your calories and macros and absolutely still be low testosterone if your diet is lacking micronutrients. That's why processed food diets, even if they hit your macros, are not sufficient nor optimal if you want to optimize your health and your hormones and in turn your physique. So to support testosterone naturally, eat a diet that prioritizes nutrient density. Whole foods, lots of fruit and veg, healthy fats from extra virgin olive oil, nuts, seeds, fatty fish, avocados, essentially real food that looks like how you would find it in the wild. And yes, absolutely, supplements can help. I bet you're wondering when I was going to talk about like Tungat Ali or ashwagandha, and they do work. However, supplements should supplement an already solid foundation, not make up for a poor diet. So first step I would take is download the app Chronometer, track your intake throughout the day, and that'll actually tell you your micronutrient intake. So you can scroll through and see what micros you're deficient in. Then, if need be, if you can't for some reason reach your micronutrient intake, which you should be able to through your diet, you can then backfill via supplementation accordingly. So your diet is on point. Now, stress and sleep are massive levers when it comes to testosterone. Chronic stress leads to chronically elevated cortisol. And like I said, cortisol and testosterone like opposite ends of a seesaw. When one goes up, chronically, the other goes down. So managing your stress is a priority through simple things. Meditation, 10 minutes in the morning, has been shown to have robust outcomes. Guided breathing. I'm a big fan of the app State, just doing 2 minutes of guided breath work before meals. And then just walking in nature is another easy thing you can do that has been shown to reduce cortisol and promote more parasympathetic tone, that rest and digest state of our nervous system. Then, of course, sleep. This is a non-negotiable if you want to maximize your testosterone along with optimizing your circadian rhythm, which can be done by doing the following from the moment you wake up until it's time for bed. First, sticking to a sleep and wake schedule. This will by far have the biggest impact on your sleep. So going to bed and waking up at least, say, within 30 minutes, even on the weekends. And then when you wake up, try to get sun in your eyes. Go outside to set your circadian rhythm. You'll then kick off a bunch of positive hormonal cascades that will improve your day-to-day energy, your focus, motivation, alertness, but then also set the stage for sleep later that night. Then as the day goes on, you did those two things. You want to cut out caffeine by 2 p.m., ideally 12 p.m. in my opinion. Then once you've done that, as we get closer to bedtime, we want to do a few things to set ourselves up to achieve the highest quality sleep we can get. First being avoiding blue light or bright light within an hour or 2 hours before bed. Then eating your last meal ideally 3 hours before bed, but the latest 2 hours. Then from there, setting up an optimal sleep environment. And a great way to think about it, I like to put it, you want a bat cave. Cool, dark, and quiet. If you can do those things, you're giving your body the best environment to get high quality sleep, which in turn will lead to maximizing your testosterone production, let alone your growth hormone production, because that is also tightly linked to your circadian rhythm. So supplements we'll cover in another episode, but that is a wrap on today's episode. We went over essentially why testosterone levels are completely plummeting at such a fast rate, how to accurately test yours to see where you're at, then how to optimize yours through diet and lifestyle fairly simply. So if you want 30 days of free advice, tips that will fast track your ability to build muscle, drop body fat, have more energy, get 2 free training plans, your nutrition, your exact macro setup for you, and much more to transform your physique, health, and performance, you can click the first link in the description. And for coaching, as well as discount codes on the supplements I use, those links are in the description as well. I appreciate you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.